We're ready? Okay, everybody. Where's my mallet? The Redevelopment Agency meeting of August 5th, 2020 is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed, posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2, and a closed caption for hearing impaired viewers, made possible through the underwriting for the Howard Hughes Corporation, developers of Summerlin. Please note customers CenturyLink Cox Communication may view this program in high definition on channel 1002 and its standard definition on channel 2. You may also watch this meeting live on Apple TV, Roku, Amazing Fire TV, on the Go Vegas app. The Redevelopment Agency meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, may be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV Channel 2, the web of the meeting, at 8 p.m., also Friday at 4 a.m., Saturday 7 p.m., Sunday at 7 a.m., and the following Monday at 5 p.m. This building is protected by state-of-the-art fire detection and suppression sprinkler systems. If alarms should activate during today's meeting, please evacuate using the exit back of the chambers. Go out to the mezzanine, proceed out the double doors to the terrace, and go down the back staircase. For anyone who has difficulty with stairs, please check with one of our marshals or fire official for assistance. Once outside, assemble on the northeast corner across the street from City Hall at Lewis and First Streets. Employees wearing safety vests or a city marshal will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. For public comment related to items on the agenda, citizen participation and public hearing items, we have available speaker card, which you may complete and submit to the city clerk up front. Cards are available in the clerk's office at the rear of these chambers. If you do not submit a card, it does not prevent you from speaking under public comment, citizen participation, or specified public hearing items. If anyone's present today who has need for hearing impaired equipment, also please come see our city clerk staff up front. Please note if you parked in the parking garage across the street, a self-validation machine is located in the foyer between these chambers and the security desk you walk through to enter the chambers. You must have your ticket with you to use the machine. However, if you do not have your ticket, see a marshal when exiting for a validation coupon. We'll move on to agenda item 3. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. The amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All comments made will be cross-referenced to those specific items. If anyone submitted a speaker card who wishes to speak under this portion of the agenda, please come to the podium and state your name. For the record, we'll set the time at a minute. And seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 4. For possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular Redevelopment Agency meeting of May 6, 2020, Mayor Pro Tem may have a motion to approve the minutes.
Move for approval.
Thank you. This motion to approve the minutes of May 6. Please vote and please post. Motion carries. We'll move on to agenda item 5, discussion for possible action regarding a First Amendment to interlocal agreement for the lease of space between the City of Las Vegas City and Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency, RDA, for office space located at 833 North Las Vegas Boulevard, consisting of 4,389 square feet for a rental amount of $5,266.80 per month, not to exceed $158,004 RDA Special Revenue Fund, Redevelopment Area Ward 5 with Councilman Creer, and it's related to council agenda item 18. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Goodman and members of City Council and Redevelopment Agency Board of Directors. For the record, Bill Arndt, Director, Economic and Urban Development. This item is to amend an existing lease between the City of Las Vegas and the Redevelopment Agency. We had been working on using the building formerly known as the Library Building on North Las Vegas Boulevard, 833 North Las Vegas Boulevard near Washington. And we had intended to use as much as the whole building, but there were some other needs that we had for the city, so we're reducing the amount of the space inside the building that we're going to be using. This is a good problem to have, I would call it, because we've run out of space at our International Innovation Center. at 4th and Lewis at the Bank of America building, and so we've been looking for more space as we have technology tenants that are wanting to be part of that program. And we ran out of space in our first building, so we're using some of the space in the second building to accommodate some of those tenants. One of the tenants is the next agenda item that is before you this morning. So we are asking for your approval to amend the lease, which will revise down to the amount of space we're using in the building to 4,389 square feet. We will be paying a lease rate of $1.20 per square foot per month. And so that'll come from the redevelopment agency to the city, since the asset is on the city's books. We also have availability for using some of the event space as exhibit space for some of the tenants. As you know, it was built to accommodate the library and other museum space. There was the Children's Museum in the space at one time, so there's a lot of open space, which will be great for events as we get going on some of these business tenants. So we do recommend approval, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Yes, Councilwoman Diaz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Arndt. And I understand the economic realities of our time and having to utilize the properties that we own as a city to create office space for our own staff, and also being creative and flexible and finding solutions for other folks. But I do remember growing up as a young girl that I went to this library and I went to this children's museum, and I think part of the community would like to see us thinking ahead as to how we can make that piece of property fit into that cultural corridor and offer something, whether it be a museum, whether it be something that's related to the arts and the culture. I know that there's so many people that are clamoring for more of these spaces in our city, and I was wondering if we're entertaining a long-term goal for what we want to do with that former library/children's museum.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Through you, Madam Mayor. Councilwoman, we are working on a long-term plan to use the space for cultural, civic, and entertainment uses. We're working with a partner on the Cashman Complex to improve the Cashman Center for professional sports, but also bring with it additional entertainment, but also keep the existing civic uses and potentially expand them. Of course, this corridor is home to the Neon Museum, which is wildly successful, the Las Vegas Natural History Museum. We see other potential operators like that coming into the area, and you're right, this space lends itself for that. So this is kind of an interim use, I would call it. As you'll see in the next item, we're not looking at long-term leases, but in the interim, the building's been vacant, so we want to put it to use for an interim period, but then long-term, I believe that we would look to do uses similar to what you just described.
Any other questions before I turn them over to Councilman Creer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll make a motion for approval.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve agenda item 5. Please vote and please post. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Arndt. We'll move on to 6. RA 72020, discussion for possible action regarding a sublease agreement between the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency and Halogenics, Inc. for the lease of office lab space located at 833 North Las Vegas Boulevard, formerly the Las Vegas Library and Children's Museum Development Area, Ward 5, Councilman Creer. And Mr. Arndt, please.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Bill Arndt, Economic and Urban Development. This item is really interesting and I think really exciting for our city and our community. I would like to invite our partner up to the dais, and they can take the microphone to my far right. With us today is Dr. Martin Schiller and John Loomis. They are part of a company that is a new company by the name of Halogenics, and it's a company that has been spun out of UNLV. Really exciting company, and again, this is an example of what we're creating at our innovation center downtown, where there's interest in exciting growth technology companies looking for a home. They want to be in downtown. We ran out of space in our innovation center, and so this item is to make available a space of 1,300 square feet at a lease rate of $1 per square foot per month, or $1,300 per month. The company has to move in some equipment and furnishings, given what they do, and I'll let Dr. Schiller explain what they do. Because of that, we are offering 5 months of abated rent, which is the approximate cost of their tenant improvements to put in the equipment to the space. And then, so the rent would start on January 5th of 2021. The company is a genomics company and does genetic testing, and is, again, spun out of UNLV. So really think it's a very interesting and exciting company. So I'd like to turn it over to our partner, Dr. Schiller and John Loomis, to explain a little bit more about what the company is about, how it got started, why they're interested in downtown Las Vegas, and then their plans for growth in downtown and in our cities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Schiller and Mr.
Thank you.
Loomis.
Welcome to you both. We look forward to hearing from you. And are you out of Chicago?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with the, I'm
That's
from
not
Las
on
Vegas.
yet. If you could help him, Mr. Arndt.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
are. Okay.
Hi, I've lived in Las Vegas for 11 years. I came here, I was recruited by UNLV. I came from New York and by way of Baltimore, D.C.
Wonderful. Thank you. And would you repeat your name for our clerk
Yeah.
so we can have?
I'm Dr. Martin Schiller.
Thank you. And so would you tell us a little bit about the company and what you're doing and UNLV in conjunction
Sure.
therewith?
So I was the founding director of personalized medicine at UNLV, and that came from funding from the governor's office. And now in just 5 years, we've become a center of excellence and won a large $12 million grant from NIH. As part of all of these, moving that along, one of the goals of the governor's grant was to develop businesses. Helogenics was formed, and we spun out a business called Food Genes and Me, which is now with a nonprofit. But now the core mission of Helogenics we're pursuing, and we need laboratory space, which is in short supply in the city, almost non-existent. So we've had to build out our own, and we're happy to be a partner with the city. What we do is we think we're going to be a transformative company, but I guess all startups do. Basically, when there's only 2,000 approved drugs for treatment of conditions in humans, and 90% of the clinical trials fail after hundreds of millions of dollars in investment. So if you just look around what's happened in the country over the past 50 years, there's about $1 trillion of failed trials sitting on the shelves in pharmaceutical companies. What our company does is we enable them to convert those failed conventional therapies to genetically targeted therapies by analyzing the gene and identifying how all the mutations impact outcome, and then licensing that data to the pharmaceutical companies. And that enables them to redo a trial where they exclude non-responders or people that have poor safety and put them in a separate pool so that they have a better chance of approval. There are other applications of our technology as well, but this has become the primary one as we've started to engage our potential customers.
How were you funded, if I might ask, Doctor, before you got the NIH grant?
I had my own personal grants as a PI at UNLV, and I had a postdoc and some other students that worked with me, and we developed this technology that allows us to do this, and it took over 3 years to develop it.
And so yours is basically technology, though, through
Yeah.
technology.
It's through a genomics technology that we do this.
Well, and welcome. And your role in this, please.
I'm John Loomis. Excuse me, I'm Chief Operating Officer for the company. Marty and I have been working, I was originally his coach. He, in Innovation Center 1, Startup Nevada, is a nonprofit organization. You may have noticed it when you walked through. I was Southern Nevada's director for that organization, and I was actually Marty's coach. And then almost 2 years ago, he said, stop fooling around with that and come to work for me. So
Smart.
I left and became his chief
Wonderful.
operating officer. And what motivated me at the time, and another one of our products, is looking for mutations that cause cancer. And this is what how Marty sold me in the beginning. When we started looking at all the different possible mutations, less than 3% of cancer mutations are known. That means the rest of them are unknown. Science has no idea what they do when they mutate or their functions. And one of the other drives that we're going to do is identify those mutations, let them be known, and so that science can start to focus on personalized medicine. And being able to do something like that for humanity and having it centered here in Las Vegas is something that I wanted to be a part of, and I'm very excited to be part of.
Wonderful.
Our growth potential is enormous, and I expect that we'll be looking for larger space, as Bill pointed out, probably within 2 years. We're considering building a 9-building campus, and one of those would be a genetics museum, so that the public could come in and understand the history of genetics and what's going on here in Las Vegas, and actually try to make Las Vegas a home for genetics in the world, a leading edge home.
Are you
I'll shut up.
working, if I might add, are you working with others in the community who are in research in cancer, but more on the medical end or the research end of it? So have you opened up, I don't know, to Optum or any of those organizations that will have people doing actual lab research?
Yeah, we have. In fact, I'm giving a seminar at Optum on August 24th or 21st, I believe.
Virtually or in person?
It'll be virtual nowadays. They're almost all virtual until we get past this, the
Wonderful.
virus.
And that's open to the public or just to those who?
It's open to the public. I also, last week, gave a seminar at Nevada, NevBio, run by John Laub. And so I'm pretty active in the research community and know most of the research going on in the city. We have a pilot grant program that we fund from our grant at UNLV, and I'm constantly engaging research in the community, especially in the biomedical and genomics space.
And when actively does your NIH grant start? Are you already into it? And is it specific?
Yeah, it's called a Center of Biomedical Research Excellence, and it's a 5-year, $12 million grant that's renewable twice.
Wow.
So we got it 2 years ago, so we have 3 years left, but I've gotten everyone in our institute serves on the committee that decides which grants are best for funding. So we've been going to that for 2 years, and we already, I think, have accomplishments out of our COBRE that'll allow us to renew it for phase 2, which will be another additional 5 years and $12 million.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And we're aiming, interesting for the city, 200. It's estimated that 200,000 people in our city need genetics as part of their health care, and we have no capability in the city at all. In fact, our institute had the only clinical geneticist in Southern Nevada when we started a few years ago. So what we're doing is we've set up a genomics lab to do testing, and we're going to be moving forward with the process of taking it CLIA and CAP certified so that we can start analyzing patient samples in addition to our research, hoping to provide a key service to the city. And we've been in discussions with Bill about partnering with the city on how we go forward with this. And I'm really excited about that.
Wonderful. Well, we have some plans if we can get past the pandemic. but hopefully you'll do nothing but continue to expand and provide the services you're already doing. It's wonderful, and congratulations on
Yes.
the grant. Yes, please, if you would, Councilwoman Fiore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm very excited to have your company here in the city of Las Vegas and here in Nevada. And being from New York, as I am, I understand the accent. However, you've been here 11 years,
And I still
you
can't, I
must
know.
say Nevada, not Nevada.
I
So I
know.
just wanted to tell you to practice that.
Yes, I keep trying and I lapse, and it just shows that I can be smart in some things but not others.
Yes, Councilwoman, and then Councilman Knutson, please.
Thank you, Councilman Knudsen. I'm excited that we get to have a first here in Las Vegas. I know that this is very much needed in our community. The more science-related career paths that we can create, the more we're diversifying also our workforce and job opportunities down the road for future Las Vegans. And I wanted to know, how many folks are you starting, or are you currently with that work with you for this project? And what's your forecast? How big do you see your employees being?
Right now, we have 5 full-time employees that are all high-paying technology jobs. By the end of year 3, we should be between 20 to 25 employees. And then it's just based on, how much revenue we make and how quickly we expand. But, we expect to become a larger company with multiple divisions, as there's many applications of the technology. And as John brought up, we're excited about this museum, and the intent is to not just make it an intro to genetics, but to help inform people on how to interact with the healthcare system to provide for their patients and to educate. Right now, we rely online, but we're envisioning creating something new that fits into the tourism theme of Las Vegas, which would be a museum where people could come and learn how to care for medical conditions for themselves and their loved ones. That's down the road, and we've also, are talking with Bill about the future of where this could be located.
Well, as a former elementary school teacher, I think that the more museums and access to information that is more visual and concrete for our students, the more we get them excited from a young age about the sciences, and hopefully we get them motivated to continue the course. And I, as a proud UNLV rebel, I hope that you're recruiting most of your talent from UNLV.
To start, we haven't, but we're bringing in interns, and I will mention in the 11 years I've been here, I've had 125 students, undergrads and graduates in my lab that I've trained, and it's nice to see many of them now are doctors in our community. So, we are all about education as well, and including interns in our efforts, and hopefully we've had applicants out of UNLV for our positions, but so far we haven't hired one, but they would get priority from our training programs there.
And Councilwoman, if I could just add, for the record, Bill Arntz, I think Dr. Schiller's being somewhat modest. He's nationally recognized in his field, so he's attracting researchers from top institutions across the country. I think Harvard and Johns Hopkins were 2 of the institutions that I remember, but I think there are others throughout the country. So certainly there are 2 sides of that coin. We want to grow talent here, but then if we have talent coming in, it'll help raise the level of training and talent that we have at our local university. So you kind of get, from my perspective, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get great talent coming in, but then that new talent coming into the community, and certainly with Dr. Schiller at our local university, will help provide better training. So it's really exciting, and it's putting us on the map in this industry. I don't know, John, if you have
If I
things
could
to add.
add, since you're a rebel, you might be excited to know that our senior molecular biologist we stole from UNR.
Councilman Knutson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you very much for your information and presentation. I just had a quick question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you're not comfortable saying it, maybe I can follow up with you after. But later in the morning in our city council meeting, we're going to be talking about the city's priorities, one of which is healthcare, the second of which is diversifying the economy. I think this presentation is appropriate timing for the discussion later in the afternoon around healthcare and diversification of the economy. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts around the role of the city and how we support a growing or budding business like yours and others like yours so that we can expand the access and quality of healthcare and diversify our economy at the same time.
Yeah, it's, I'd have to give it some more thought, but just briefly, you know, I know of others, and there'll be other businesses spinning out of our institute in the near future. The next one, actually, one of our scientists has a COVID-oriented business, which will help the city manage this disease, especially if it goes on a lot longer. What's missing is key infrastructure and talent in our city to conduct kind of high-end tech research. So the training at UNLV that goes on, you know, really, you know, I hope at some point the state can figure out how to get a little bit more growth to, you know, I think we're at critical mass finally after a long effort, but, you know, there needs to be more infrastructure and talent. And then something that just stopped me cold in my tracks is there's no laboratory space and in the city. So there's Roseman and there's UNLV, and they don't lease out space. They're space constrained. Roseman now leases, but that's it. So there's no place to attract or set up a new tech business unless you can build lab space. And you know, it goes $700-800 a foot, so it's not cheap to build out. Most cities have an incubator, and you know, I hope that this is something that the city could develop, where, you know, it's the situation we're in right now, where we can come in for a subsidized rate to help get us going and have lab space. And you know, if it wasn't for John and a little bit of vision, you know, we walked into the kitchen at the museum and said, you know, I think this can be converted. And, you know, in less than a month, this guy pulled it off, and it's just gorgeous lab space. But that needs to pre-exist for companies. So those are my, like, immediate thoughts on the matter.
And I very much appreciate that. And the mayor and I have spoken about the need for expanded research capacity within the community. And for this council's consideration, in all of our medical district meetings, the same consideration is brought up, is the need for expanded laboratory space, which I think is an opportunity that we should consider going forward. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed is I get invited to lots of little research organizations to come present or talk with them, and I think we need somebody to take the role as a leader to try to organize this within the city, well, within the valley. You know, there's just several organizations, and because they don't have critical mass and they face the same problems, it's been a barrier to get it up and organized and running. So someone in the community or government needs to kind of take a role as a leader to be an organizer of this. That's also missing.
And if you could expand Bill's idea of the Innovation Center and build out the lab space there and create those incubators for these companies, it would make it so much easier and quicker for them to get engaged and be productive. And then move them on when they start to be successful. Let them go out and make their own way, and then you've got an opening for another company to incubate. So there's a lot of desire and I would guess expertise that's just not being utilized in the city itself because they have no laboratory space.
With a son who's at Roseman in research in one of those labs. This has been missing for the past 50 years, and there's never been an appetite for research until UNLV began to expand and grow. And it is critical. I know he was one of the very few in lab research and trying to find a partner to go ahead and fund it. This is critical, and any world-class city needs a university that does research, and that's to which Councilman Knutsen's referring, and in his ward, as you know, is the university. We've got our medical district, and it's just an exciting time, and things have changed so greatly since the old days of the 20 years ago even being old days. So we know it's something we as a city are very heavily focused upon and really want to be part of it. And I know Bill will just stay with you. And I've asked my clerk up here to please get your business cards so that we can, whatever we can do, I'm sure you know we're going to be supportive of it. So lucky man. Goodness gracious.
Thank you,
Go
Mayor.
for it, please.
You know, I was on the Board of Regents for almost 12 years, and one of the persons that voted towards getting the medical school here, and this is exactly some of the things that we talked about of offshoots of having a medical school located, dedicated in Southern Nevada, are the other ancillary businesses and effects of not only jobs, but also quality care and more attention to our Southern Nevada community. So I applaud you for taking that and also moving forward with it. And I think that you are onto something and you're going to be very successful. And we do need more lab space. One of the key components, as you know, for UNLV, attaining the Carnegie One high status, that research status, is more lab space, and that's always been into consideration. Unfortunately, this pandemic has probably pushed a lot of things back for INCHI as a whole, but we definitely have to maintain a certain level of research space in order to maintain that Carnegie One high status. So we have to get to our council meeting, so I'm not going to belabor this, and I'm going to move for approval.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6. Please vote and please post. And so have you gone to pharmaceuticals, and the motion carries, and we're thrilled. Pharmaceuticals, hopefully we'll put some money into it, and we work on that. And Mr. Arndt, just quickly, what happened to our city marshal IT department moving into that same space? Are they somewhere else now?
For the record, Bill Arndt, thank you, Madam Mayor. The marshals and also some other city functions, such as human resources, are into this space. Again, this is, as the Councilwoman Diaz pointed out, this is kind of an interim strategy. Long-term, we're going to be looking to do different things with the building, but there's enough space. They're using a minimal amount of space, and it fits. The space works for them, so we still have our needs met as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. That motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we're on to agenda item 7. Okay, citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the redevelopment agency. No subject may be acted upon by the redevelopment agency unless the subject's on the agenda and scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come to the podium, give your name for the record, the amount of discussion, any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speakers allowed may be limited. Is there anyone wishing to speak under this portion of the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, I would ask our city clerk, do we have any public comments? Nothing. Okay, the redevelopment agency is adjourned, and we have to transfer over our IT information and everything, so we'll be 5 minutes, and we'll go right into our city council meeting.